nigga like me, man, I love the game. I love the hustle, man. I be feeling like one of them ball-playing niggas, you know? Like Bird, Magic, or something. Yeah, you know, a nigga got dough. A nigga could leave the league. But if I leave, the fans still gonna love me, man? I get love out here in Harlem, man. I done sold coke on these streets, man. Hash, weed, heroin. As long as niggas is feeling it, a nigga like me can hustle it. That's my gift in life, eh? You know? What? The fuck you laughing at, B?
You, man. Funny, man. You a hustling motherfucker, man. For real, baby. You fucking killing me, man.
Well, you know me, baby.
Yo, what's going on? Sub-Zero. No, I hadn't heard from y'all in a while, or you hadn't heard from me, more so. Been busy, focused on, my school, making sure these students are doing what they supposed to do, so they can be ready to start trying to go out here and attack the job scene in a minute. Also, I knew it. As soon as I got on the phone. So, I've been doing what I was supposed to do, basically, trying to build, basically, which, that's really what this is in essence. This class is about. Not just me, but all of us. I consider myself, like in the movie, Full Metal Jacket, the Sarge that kept getting on the people, and trying to get them ready to be soldiers. At the end of the day, we're supposed to go out as men and build. That's what I believe in. That's why I hold us accountable as men, really. And I'm gonna say this, man. The reason that I think the way I think, and when I say this, don't mistake what I'm saying. The reason that I have the mindset or mentality that I have that it is men's job to build and lead is because I come from a biblical worldview. I just do. Now, the thing is this, man. Like, I don't spend time trying to get you guys to want to go to church or anything like that, because I probably got a lot of subscribers that really despise and hate the church. I'm gonna just be honest, right? For whatever reason, they hate the church. And I know right now and nowadays it's not cool to say the word Christian. It's almost a 4-letter word. It really is. And I understand to a certain extent because of social media and because of this day and age and because of a lot of, popular videos that have been circling around YouTube or around Facebook about different people in different ministries and churches not doing what they're supposed to do. Is highlighted. They say a lie goes around the world 4 times before the truth could even put its shoes on. Well, I think it's the same for good news and bad news. I think bad news travels around the world 3 or 4 times before good news can put its shoes on. The thing is this, man. If you don't want to go to church, if you don't believe in the Christian faith, if you don't even believe in any faith, you just believe in God, but you don't believe in a faith per se, then fine. I said it. It's fine. I don't think neither me or, I don't think most Christians, spend their time going around playing judge, jury, and executioner. They don't. I think a lot of times when people scream about the church being full of hypocrites and the church being judgmental, 9 times out of 10, that's a person or individual who's living their life a certain way, and they don't want to be called out on their sin, on their own issues in their life. That's true. And I think all you have to do is just, listen to what people have to say. See, because this is the thing, right? I go to church. I'm a believer. I believe in Jesus Christ. I've been in ministry. I have a ministry background. I know tons of brothers. I could get on Google Hangouts. Me and the brother I call Franchise that I played basketball with. Me and that brother played at school. We could tell you stories of the type of individuals we went to college with, the saints, and the ministry that we did all over the world, in Africa and in Brazil, and through traveling and playing basketball and doing certain things. I can speak to that. I can speak to certain people that are actually popular right now, rappers that are actual gospel rappers right now. I ain't even call them gospel rappers, but Christian rappers per se, that are, you probably know some of them. I'm 1 or 2 degrees removed from some popular people that you may or may not know from that industry. Some of them went to Tuskegee. 1 or 2 brothers that's in the gospel rap industry or Christian rap industry actually went to school with me, right? And I know them. I'm real cool, good friends with a couple of those brothers. I know a lot of brothers. I know a couple of pastors of some big churches. When I say big, I mean 2,000 members or more. Know a couple of those guys. Real deal, fire breathing. I say fire breathing, but brothers that really get out here and live it, right? I also know some people that talk it and ain't about it for real. They talking it, but they living another way. They talking it, but they in it for women. Are they in it for money? Are they in it for popularity? Or in it to, for the approval of others, right? I know those too. And even within their churches, there are good Bible believing people. And now, why am I saying this? Why am I saying this? Because I know the first thing people say, well, oh, here you go with that church talk. I'm not coming at you with any church talk. But this is the thing right here. We have to understand that you have to have standards. Now, who sets those standards and how they're set is a very, very slippery slope. You see, let's say I don't want to go to church. Let's say I don't want to go to church. I don't want to be a Muslim. I don't want to be a Hebrew. I don't want to have anything. But I do believe in God, right? I believe there's a creator. Well, the first thing is, I know for a fact I'm selfish. I'm sorry. I just am. I'm selfish. I'm arrogant. I'm prideful. You see, when I go to the Word of God, when I go to the Bible, it tells me I'm selfish, arrogant, and prideful. I'm able to identify my own selfishness in certain instances because I get convicted and God shows me, man, that wasn't right. That was selfish. This was that. I honestly, for the life of me, know for a fact I didn't have that mindset. I don't have that mindset as it pertains to if I didn't have that certain mind. Not saying that you can't identify something being selfish, but the lines become blurred because, for example, there was a time when a lot of people thought it was moral to kill people, to kill black people, to do certain things. And I know the first thing people are going to say, well, see there, that's why you shouldn't go, as if Christianity didn't exist until 500 years ago. Like, as if there was not King Ezana in Ethiopia, and as if the church in Carthage and all these different nations didn't have Christians, weren't Christian nations. Coptics go way back to the beginning of the church. No, that didn't happen. It didn't touch Africa, although at the time, Africa was, what you would call Africa, was technically still the Middle East. So it's real blurry when people start doing history. I'm like, man, you want a certain brand of history out of, and I understand why a lot of people want this remixed history and this brand of history where Christianity didn't benefit black people at all. Because let's be honest, I mean, we've all seen Roots, and we've seen the different movies where they beating the guy with a belt and with a whip and telling him he gonna be a Christian, forcing him to go to church, reading him particular verses out of the Bible where he is somehow weak and it puts you in a certain position where you are at the effect of the white man because he's your master. Slaves obey your master, and you can do certain things to slaves. They read you those verses, right? But they don't read you the verses of what's the name? What is it? Israel, in the Babylonian captivity and how they were longing for their freedom. They weren't just content being in Babylonian captivity as the Israelites. And that I don't even think that if you really look at that type of slavery back then, that was the reason I have a real issue with America and the slavery that we went through is because the slavery that we went through was unlike any other form of slavery that had ever existed. In fact, that's how it got a foothold, because slavery has existed as long as human beings have. As long as there's been civilizations and paramountcies that fight against each other, there have been slavery. I mean, slaves, every human nature has slaves, right? But when you get into the specific brand of slavery that African Americans or slaves endured in America, it's unmatched. We've never seen anything like this before. I mean, I'll be a fool to sit up here and argue with anyone that, this slavery was just the same slavery as what you saw in the Bible, or the same slavery that what you saw because you got 2,000-3,000 years of culture, history, everything else in between that. So that parenthetical period, things changed. It became politically expedient to keep black people in slavery forever till they die, and keep their children and their children's children in slavery and build wealth. That was politically expedient. Whereas that's why if you go in history, Queen Nzinga and a lot of people in West Africa started fighting against the white men when they started understanding what type of slavery, and word got back to them what was going on, right? But I wanted to come on here because this is the thing about people's faith. When I see people attack people's faith, you always have to ask why. Why is it that people project onto Christians that I'm a fool and I'm a sucker and I'm out here willing to go and bow down to the white man and grab the ankles, right? I mean, we all seen the sound bites of these Christians as soon as, like in Dylan Roof, when he went into the South Carolina church and shot those people, and they had the family members out there getting the sound bite, hey, we forgive, which is a misinterpretation of scripture. The Bible does not tell you to forgive somebody, especially when they didn't ask for forgiveness, number one. He didn't even ask for it, and you out there screaming you forgive. Look here, let me tell you what happened. They come talk to me. He come shoot any of my family members, cousins, anybody, and they put that camera to me and ask me what I want. I'm like, look, I want justice. I want justice. I want him tied to a tree. I want fire ants thrown on him, and I want him to sit there until they eat him to his damn bone. That's justice. And I want him to sit there and suffer and starve as they eat his ass alive. And then I want him to think about what he did. Then I can talk about forgiveness. See, that's the way I look at it. See, to me, God care about your soul. He can turn and repent and he can get his soul right, but his body gonna have to endure that pain. Because that's the way I look at it. Be it sitting in jail for the rest of his life, or the electric chair, or a lethal injection, or whatever. Whatever it's gonna be, I want it to be that way. That's justice to me. See what I'm saying? It's liberals that have come along and have told black people that they are, that they supposed to forgive regardless, and take certain verses 7 times 70. I'm like, yeah, but y'all don't believe that. You say you're a Christian nation, but you don't operate that way. I'm thinking that's the way I look at it. You would be a fool as a Christian to see this world as it is, and to see the ebb and flow of this nation, and to try to operate as a way I'm gonna just be objective, and I'm gonna live as a Christian. This coming from a believer myself. If I'm a black man, right? If I get pulled over by a cop, I will be an idiot to think that I can do the same thing a white person can do. There are videos of white people cussing out cops, talking to them crazy, saying anything to cops. You think you can do that? You a black man, you a fool. That has nothing to do with your faith. Nothing whatsoever. And you know what? I don't think black people, I have never met a black person who thinks that they can do something, the same thing to a cop that they can do to a white. Most black people understand that as a basic rule. That has nothing to do with your faith. And that leads me to the real crux of this video. And this point is this. If you believe whatever, I don't care if you think you are one of the, you with my aunt and the ancestors and whatever, you think you can talk to the ancestors, you think you on a higher plane, we need to go back to the traditional African religion and that's gonna fix everything, you a fool. Just like somebody that says, hey, I'm going to pray to God and he going to come down and he going to give me this and give me that. Like God is some type of doggone Santa Claus. You a fool too. That the Bible don't tell you that. The Bible says faith without works is dead. The Bible says if man doesn't work, he shouldn't eat. You see what I'm saying? The Bible told God told Israel, look, get out there and build your own stuff. I think it was the book of Haggai. See, man, look, they was crying that they wanted something like God. Like, look, I gave y'all wood. I gave you trees to go out there and do what you got to do. Build your own houses. So I think when it comes down to it, I think people have taken the Bible and used it how they want to use it. But see, the problem is, and this is the thing I have, we got to understand that the church has done more for black people than any other institution. I'm going to just keep it a buck. Now, I know that's, people will argue with me on that. Like, man, you crazy. Okay, let's go back in history. Okay, so we got here on slavery, right? We was in slavery, and then a lot of black people matriculated up north. The abolitionist movement came out of the church, right? A lot of evangelicals. White evangelicals do not believe in forcing somebody to be a Christian. That's Catholicism. Evangelicals believe in, reasoning with people, like you see in the Bible, in the book of Acts. The church people, even throughout the epistles that were written by the apostles, they're reasoning with you to be a Christian. They ain't saying take a gun or a knife and put it upside somebody and say, hey man, be a Christian or die. Nah, that's the Catholic Church do that. Now, unlike Islam, and I'm not trying to get into that, that's what the nation, that's why most of West Africa is Islam. So they were forced by nature, by the sword. They came in under the sword and forced them the name to the same thing they tell us today: convert to Islam or die. When you hear these Muslim terrorists, jihadists say stuff, convert or die, that's straight out the Quran. What's his name? Muhammad sent a letter to the Pope at the time that lived at his time. He said, convert or die. You're an infidel. Look, it is what it is. Now, if they conquer your state or country or whatever, and you choose to try to keep your faith, they're going to make it very hard. You can't own land. You can't do this. You can't do that. And you have to pay a tax called the jizya. That's how West Africa became Islamic. Now, I don't see people bitching about that too tough. Black folks don't study their history. The Muslims were actually extracting slaves 600 years prior to the African transatlantic slave trade even took off. So the Muslims, the Muslims had been, but see, the thing was, it was customary for them. They took a lot of women and put them in their harems, and they took a lot of men and they would castrate, they would cut their dicks off basically, so that they, and then they would send them over there to be Muslims. Send them over there to be slaves. That's what they did. This is well documented. And even to this day, there are 1 million people to this day in North Africa being forced and sold into slavery right now, as we speak. As we speak. And guess how I found that out? A video from one of the mega pastors, Bishop T.D. Jakes. Go figure. But the point I'm trying to make is, we came over here. The abolitionist movement took off, right? A lot of those people, that they say 75% of those people were ex-slaves, black people, had family members in slavery, whatever. Nonetheless, they took off. That movement came out of the church, the abolitionist movement. A lot of them influenced politics and whatever. We're not going to say that was why the Civil War happened. Okay, we're not going to even say that, because that's so, I've heard so many conflicting stories about that, it's not even funny. So the point I'm trying to make about that is, we had that happen, right? And then all of a sudden, when the Civil War happened, the slaves were set free. Well, once the slaves were set free, you had people like Christian people, even before the slaves were set free, you had Christian people like Harriet Tubman, a lot of other people that came along that were black Christians. Most people back then were Christians. About 99% of us were Christians back then, right? It was real high, the numbers of us. Nat Turner, his whole rebellion, he was a preacher. Gabriel Prosser, preacher. You know what I'm saying? Bishop Turner, who came along, after that, almost 100 years after these guys, he was a preacher, Christian. Although he had some conflicted moments, Marcus Garvey was a Christian. A lot of the people that started the Pan-African movement were Christians. If you look at most of these HBCUs that were started in and around the United States, Christian. Black pastors came in with white people A lot of time we'll tell it. Howard is named after a white person. Hampton named after a white person. Morehouse named it. They're named after white people because they put their money up. But it was a lot of black Christian missionaries and black people that were teaching ex-slaves to read. In fact, Hampton started out of a black woman teaching up under a tree. And what were they teaching? The Bible. These people were teaching the scriptures. That was one of the first. Now, this was after slavery, but they were teaching people the scriptures. In fact, the whole education system came about from learning, white or black, came about from people learning the Bible. In fact, people were actually more intelligent back then, perfect, because guess what? They didn't have any entertainment. They didn't have, so they couldn't watch TV. So all they could do for entertainment was read. So a lot of times people would sit around and read all day, every day. That's what they would do. I actually saw an IQ or a 8th grade test from 100 years ago. It was hard as hell. I was like, damn, they did this in the 8th grade? Think about it. So people were actually smarter back then in my mind. But nonetheless, that happened, right? Then you have under segregation, you got a lot of black churches that started banks. Whole lot of business districts were based. The black church was the center of black economic empowerment in the early 1900s and up until maybe the mid 60s. The black church was the center of the epicenter of all things black as far as empowerment. It just was. It has been. So when I say that the church has done more for black people than any other institution, I think I got a very good, strong case. Now, somebody may make the argument for the government, but I mean, if it wasn't for the government, you wouldn't have to do the things you did in the first place. So it kind of offsets and negates what the government did. Because I heard some communist brothers make that comment that the government did some good things and the government is black people's biggest ally. It's not. The government finally just broke after a while when it became politically expedient for it to break. That's my case. That's my mindset on this whole situation. So, you know, I think that's what happened. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. In the 60s, the liberal movement came in, and black people started dealing with a lot of Democrat. Actually, we started becoming Democrat in the 30s when a lot of us started moving up north, and the New Deal came in under FDR. A lot of black people decided then that they would start voting Democrat because they wanted to vote with the unions up north and stuff like that. And that's where we switched. We started switching, and we voted mostly Democrat in the damn 30s, just to be honest. Most black people don't know this, and we've been voting that way ever since. Eisenhower, I think, got 40% of the black vote, but for the most part, it hasn't been that high since Eisenhower. Black people have been voting overwhelmingly Democrat. We've been voting for certain programs. We've been pushing certain ideologies, and we've been getting socially engineered by Jews. I'm sorry, that's a fact. The Jews have been, voluntarily coming into the black community and quote unquote helping, but not helping, but not by, pushing all these social programs and telling us to pushing all these organizations and stuff like that, because they used us as a way to pry into society and get what they wanted. As a minority, they'll say, hey, I'm just like the black people, and they will get what they wanted, right? That's one way. I mean, of course, they did organize economically. You'll be a fool not to recognize and acknowledge that. But the point I'm trying to make is the church has been there for black people. And I honestly believe that today, a lot of people in the church are doing what it's a lot of good people in the church. A lot of these churches that you guys hate and despise are going around doing a lot of things that a lot of black people don't want to do. Nobody talks about that. You see what I'm saying? I'm gonna put a clip in here of a brother from this other ministry from TD Jakes church. And his brother's just talking about all this stuff. He said he was in there one time and the nation came in there on some ready to get down type stuff. And they came in there, he said, brother, we heard you brothers ain't doing nothing in the community. We heard this, we heard that. And he took out his paperwork and showed receipts. Said, no, brother, this is what we doing. And the brother apologized. Said, brother, I apologize. We did not know that this is what you brothers were doing. They done took old shopping centers and done a lot of different things. I see this with a lot of people I know in ministry. I see a lot of good brothers and sisters out here doing the job of the Lord and in their communities. Nobody brags on that though. But soon as Creflo said he wanted a $70 million jet, it made international news. And I disagree with getting. Look, I don't believe in supporting nobody for no $70 million jet. You get that from my cold dead hand. You ain't getting 50 cents from me for no done $70 million jet. I give $1 or $2 here and there. But most of the time, I ain't gonna go into what I believe about tithes, but I don't believe tithes is mandated. That's just my mindset. But anyway, nonetheless, I think one of the biggest questions I have to ask is, everybody wants to tear the church down and say all this stuff against the church. And that clip I told you I'm gonna put in here is coming. But the biggest thing I want to say is, everybody wants to tear the church down. Everybody wants to say that the church is this and the church is the problem and everybody in the church is somehow, because people project stuff on us and make it like we believe stuff and make us out to look like we're the victims, and make themselves out the victims and make themselves out to be the ones that are, so much more enlightened spiritually and so much more intellectual than somebody that goes to church and and I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of every time I go on YouTube, I subscribe to somebody's channel and they got to go up and bash the damn church and sit there and talk about how the church is full of hypocrites and the church ain't this and the church ain't that. And I'm like, okay, fine. Show me the institutions that were built apart from yours, because we can show you the institutions that the church done built. I can show you universities. I can show you people's bills getting paid. I can show you people going into the communities and feeding the poor from these churches. Even for every church that you see a pastor with a big Cadillac, you got some real people in them churches. Okay, for every church that you see a pastor that may have slept around and slept with some of the women in his congregation, it's some brothers and sisters in that church, men and women that are on fire for God, that's in this community doing something. I can show you that. That's easy. That's easy. This video just showed you that. But see, you know what's funny? As much as people talk, Bishop Jakes Ministry is one of the first churches they want to mention when they want to talk trash. You ever notice that? TD Jakes Ministry, but they ain't gonna brag about this. They're not gonna brag about my brother, my boy in Valiant Cross community doing his job, that's doing the job of the community. Nah, everybody want to give money to Umar Johnson, because he conscious, he woke, and it's cool. I think right now, subconsciously, a lot of people are on YouTube riding that wave and saying a lot of stuff about the church because it's the in thing to do. But if you really want to check receipts, brothers and sisters, the church is way ahead of 99% of these people that's talking. Because most of the people that's talking, you can't call them and get them to do nothing. Most of the people that's talking, they don't have anything. They can't show you where they out here in the streets taking action and doing something for the people. Most of them aren't. Outside of talking about going, I'm woke, I'm conscious, I'm vibrating on this frequency, and I'm on a higher level. Okay, nigga, you on a higher level, but I can't depend on you. You God, okay. I can't get you to create a job. I can't go to you to help you pay my power bill before. My mom used to go to this ministry and get her power bill paid every when she was raising me, man. We would be struggling sometime. You see what I'm saying? That's real. My mom would go to this ministry and get light bill. I know it's a white church in Montgomery called Fraser right now. Fraser Church is, I forget the name, is either Fraser Memorial, something like that. Anyway, that church, they do a lot of stuff in the black people, for blacks. These in the church, all white. But if you need your light bill paid and you get showed where you've been struggling, they'll pay your light bill. I can't go to the hotels and and look, I'm not taking the jab at the hotels. I can't go to these people on YouTube talking like, oh, I just believe in God. Okay, you believe in God. Can I call you to help you pay my light bill? Since you saying that you got morals and standards, can I depend on you? As much as people talk about the church, if you take the church away from a lot of different peoples, places, and individuals, then fine. Now, am I going to lie and say that the Catholic Church didn't do a lot of dirt? Hell yeah, the Catholic Church done a lot of dirt. I'd be the first to admit it. Under the auspices of Jesus, they have. So now we got to answer. The church has to answer for everybody that's even tried to proclaim Christ. We have to answer for that. So that means I need to answer for every nigga that's out here on these streets doing stupid stuff. That means I need to answer. Every single mom needs to answer for every single mom that's stripping. Every single mom needs to answer for every single. No, of course we can make those distinctions. You see, we can make the distinctions from one black man from another. A black man that's a felon that went out here and shot a little 3-year-old and he in jail, and you got to answer for that. You see what I'm saying? No, you don't. You understand that. But the church got to answer for everybody that has done something for the last 2,000 years. I got to answer for the damn Salem witch trials. I got, as a believer, I got to answer for white people enslaving black people and trying to use the Bible to justify it. Then the white people then took that same Bible and used it to justify slavery, slaves getting their freedom. Evangelicals, they did. So now what? But that part people, neglect to leave out. They always leave these little bit of pieces out of information. Like, look, man, we got our freedom when our ancestors was locked up and helpless and couldn't get out. And a lot of them, I'm gonna be honest with you, weren't willing to raise up. And a lot of them, I ain't gonna say that because a lot of them did. A lot of them did raise up and take arms and try to get their freedom. Some of them did successfully. But what I'm saying is, when a lot of us were just slaves and content being slaves, some white Christians and some black Christians went and did what they were supposed to do and set us free. You know what I'm saying? And got us free, marched and did what not even say march, whatever the steps they took, however you want to look at it. Some people think it's the Civil War, some people don't. Fine. Don't tell me all those 100,000 people that died in the Civil War, don't tell me that a lot of those guys didn't believe they were fighting for the freedom of slaves. Although you may think politically it wasn't that, a lot of people that fought did think like that. That's well documented. They actually said they were fighting for the freedom of slaves. Some of them said that. Some of the people in the Union Army. So it is what it is. But my thing is, I don't know. I don't know why people think they're so much more empowered than Christians. I don't know. It's like if you get pulled over by a cop, all of a sudden you're more powerful than me. You're able to, I don't know, reach back to the ancestors and use that Ogun spirit, as Tariq likes to put it. And, use that Ogun spirit to get the cop bullet to miss you or something when he pull his trigger. Or if, I don't know. Like, we so powerful, we're going to use that Ogun spirit to go out here. You so powerful because you woke and conscious that you're going to use that Ogun spirit to do whatever it is. Go ahead and do it. My thing is, whatever it is you want to believe in, believe it. But don't stop coming for me. Stop coming for my faith. Stop projecting lies on me and my faith, telling people that I'm weak, that I'm this and I'm that. Let me speak for myself. Let my people speak for themselves. It's a lot of black people out here, black people that went out here and fought for the movement, the deacons of the fence. All these brothers was Christians, a lot of them. People kill me with that, man. Putting stuff on the church, trying to make it out like the church and the bad people, everything's wrong with the black community. Well, we'll be straight in the community if we go back to our old African worship, old African religions. And I'm like, oh, Lord, it sure worked for them back in like the 1500s, 1600s when they got enslaved. It was working then, didn't it? You actually saw somebody say one time that they had to. Now I ain't gonna even, you know what? I'm gonna say it. I think it's crazy, but you got black people that believe this to this day. That they used to have to, there was these witch doctors that was put into slavery, and so they would have to cover their mouths so that they wouldn't hex them with some sort of powerful witch stuff or whatever. Now, I don't know if that's, I ain't gonna even say, I'm not even gonna go into whether that's true or not, but people sure put a lot of faith in that stuff. A lot of black people putting faith in that stuff. I'm talking about the same, but my thing is, and I heard Jason Black say it, and this is the thing, I think religion can benefit you, and it does matter. I think it does, but I think it matters in the sense that who I am and what I believe and what I stand for is derived from that. Now, all that really matters is how I then affect the world from my worldview, because I have a Christian worldview as a black man. I do. I believe in that's why I hold men responsible for their community before I hold a woman responsible, because of my worldview. But when you don't have that worldview, and you a lot of these guys on the internet we listen to are atheists. A lot of these guys don't have the same value system. So if I listen to a guy and I like what he's saying, I think he's a great YouTuber, and then all of a sudden he wants to brag about having a threesome with prostitutes and a bunch of women, I'm looking in my mind, I'm like, this brother's, me and him got a different moral compass. We just do. I like sex just like the next man. You know what I'm saying? But me and this brother got a different standards. We have different standards. We just do. I'm not gonna say which is better. But for me, I can't jive with that. You see what I'm saying? And when you have people on the internet, see, the problem is when the brother talks like that, in his mind, he's just as good as me. And you know, and for you, a lot of you subscribers, you say, I don't care about what a man do with his dick. Okay, cool. You don't care. But we can't build if every man is out here trying to be a hoe. We just can't. There has to be some sort of structure. Like, that's why I believe in putting your body before, your money before before sex. That's one thing. Secondly, families, having a family, raising children, things like that. That's important. But if you got a lot of smart, quote unquote, good brothers who are woke and conscious, or even if they're not, but they telling brothers not to get married, not to have families, not to have kids. Well, how you going to build for the next generation? What are you going to build for? Why are you building? You see what I'm saying? See, a lot of the stuff I tell y'all come from a biblical worldview. It does. But I had to come up here. I know this is a long video, but I had to say all this because it's like, I don't know, people like to act like they so much more on a higher moral ground because they don't go to church. So what? You're not better than me because you don't go to church. I think somehow I go to church. Oh, he's dirty. He's lassoed himself with all these, health, wealth, gospel preachers and these snake oil salesmen that want you to buy their holy water and Peter Popoff and all that mess. Like, done well. Did I tell you that just because I say I have the faith? Does that mean that I subscribe to people that want $75 million jets? Do I subscribe to Benny Hinn? Hell no. I ain't no fool. But I'm not going to let you speak for me. I'm going to speak for myself. And I'm really mad at a lot of believers who want to keep their mouths shut and don't want to say nothing and let people, they scared because they don't want to be labeled ignorant. They don't want to be labeled because see, right now the Jews I know everybody hate when I go there with the Jews, but I'm going to say it. The Jews have made it now where if you say Christian, you weak and stupid. And you think that you just saying that cause, black people are just tired. Well, wait a minute. The church, up until right up until the 70s, the church did a lot of stuff for black folks. But it's funny how you ain't taught that in school, are you? You don't even know that. A lot of us don't know who a lot of these people are. We barely know who Nat Turner is. Barely. We don't know about Harriet Tubman, but they're not going to tell you that lady was a Christian. They're not going to tell you about Marcus Garvey. They'll tell you about that stuff. Why do they not tell you that stuff? Huh? So now you hate the church and you think that the church, all you know is what you see on Roots. That's what we know about history. What some white Judah decided that you're going to get to know about your history. See, when I say Bishop Turner, folks don't know who the hell Bishop Turner is, man. Most of them don't. Who the hell is that? You see what I'm saying? When I talk about the founders of the Pan-Africanist movement, a lot of those people were Christians and stuff like that. You're like, wait a minute. A lot of those people were pastors and people that really took that movement and ran. Yes, they were. Malcolm X's dad, pastor. See what I'm saying? Does that mean that you need to be a Christian? No, but it also means that it does mean this. I can be a freedom fighter, I can be a revolutionary, and I can be a Christian. And that's that, man. And if you hear weakness in my voice, then you just want to hear weakness. If you hear that somehow I'm not wanting to build, fine. But for one thing I want to say is this. One group of individuals that you cannot point the finger at as a black person and say that they haven't done anything for the black community is the Christian church. Especially black. When I say that, I mean black Christians. You definitely can't say that black people have not went out here through the Christian faith and built something. The only institutions, the only thing black people have a lot of times in these communities from HBCUs and a lot of schools and stuff like that, high schools and stuff like that, was due to the church. Banks, businesses, a lot of stuff came through the church. Stop it with that, man. Damn. Y'all have a good day, man. I had to rant for a minute. Thank you.
another episode of the G3 Project Podcast. Today I'm on location with Bishop Vaughn McLaughlin at the Potter's House Soul Food Bistro, which is a part of Potter's House Enterprises. So for those who don't know who you are, can you just give them a little bit of background?
Well, I'm Bishop Vaughn McLaughlin. I was raised right here in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm the founder and pastor of the Potter's House International Ministries. I'm also the CEO of Kingdom Plaza Malls and Enterprises. I'm also the chancellor and founder of the Potter's House Christian Academy, which is a school of hundreds of kids, K-3 right to 12th grade, putting kids in some of the best universities in the world. And just serve God and man, and serve the city in whatever capacity that I can. And I'm just here to be what God's called me to be, and to do what He's called me to do. That's what He's graced me to do. So that's what I do. Also in school, working on a doctorate now, finishing up at Gordon Conwell. I have some other stuff that I do on the side, but outside of that, I just love God and love people. And so we're here to talk about something that I think would bless those who are supporters of Jubilee.
And today we want to talk about the Black church and economic empowerment, which I know that is something near and dear to your heart. And it's important to me because there's a lot of videos that you've seen by Dr. Umar Johnson and people like that who suggest that the Black church doesn't do anything for the community. And we recently posted a video by an interview with Dr. Marvin Nickel where he talked about the economic empowerment, and some of the feedback we received was, well, that's the past. Nobody's doing anything like that today. So I thought it would be great to have you on because you're in the present doing this. How have you been able to effectively empower your community?
You know, I'm always interested when I hear people talk about what the church is not doing. Because they paint the church with this paintbrush, this wide brush, and they include all of the church. I remember in 1994 that I had an encounter with the Nation of Islam. They actually took exception to some of my teaching about the nation, and so they came to one of our services and literally barged into my office to threaten me when it was over. Well, I had a meeting with them, and after we had the meeting, and they asked me what I was doing in the community, they saw what I was doing in the community, and they said, my brother, we're sorry. We thought you were like those other churches that are just out here ripping the people off and collecting funds and not doing anything. But at the time, we were feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, visiting the jails and the prisons, nursing homes. We had an incubator. We were helping people get started in business. We were employing the unemployable and helping those who needed help. And so we were being the church. And so they actually backed up and left us alone, saying you're not one of them. So when I come to the church and look at the church, you have to look at everybody individually, right? Even though the church has a mandate, Christians have a mandate to be fruitful and to multiply, to replenish, subdue, and take dominion. I wasn't raised in church, quote, in the church. I never set foot inside the doorways of the church until I was 26 years old. So I didn't know what I couldn't do. So when I read the Bible, I saw in the Bible that the church was impacted, that it actually transformed, that it actually did things in the community that made them viable in the community and made them respected in the community. Because I read in the Bible where it says, when we repair the waste places and ask for people to dwell in, then shall they call us the ministers of our God. That we can get our name changed from that church, those church folk, to the ministers of God by serving people. So we were able to come into the church and basically, I started with just my wife, a couple of folk, and it's a handful of people, but we had a mission before we started, and it was transformation. It was feed the hungry, clothe the naked, visit the jail, prison, the nursing home, the hospital, take care of the widows and the orphans, which is Matthew 25 ministry. And then I read that verse in Luke 19 that says, occupy until I come. Which the word occupy is to barter, to trade, to do the work of a banker. I saw that Jesus' ministry was a marketplace ministry, that he chose his disciples from the marketplace. There was no distinction between the marketplace and the ministry of Christ. And so that's how we got going. So I figured that, hey, I came to the church and I said, why doesn't the church have their own restaurants? We're keeping Denny's and Shoney's open all night. We go bowling. Why do we have our own bowling alley? We work out. Why do we have our own fitness center? We go to the barber shop, why not have your own barber shop? We go to the beauty salon, why not have clothing? And so all of these things, I just felt were just an extension of being the church. And why not? Any church worth its salt ought to be doing something about what's going on around them in their community and empowering people. That's what we're here for, to empower people. And so if somebody would have talked to me, like Umar and those guys, and they would sit in what we're doing with almost 500,000 square foot of mall and shopping and enterprise and employing over 200 people full time and all this kind of stuff, what would be their argument? I just don't understand what the problem is. I think that every local church is responsible for doing exactly what we do. And I don't get paid. I don't get more money, more business, more this and that. I have a salary from my local church, and that's what I get paid. Everything else I use to empower people and to transform the community. And we've done just that here in Jackson.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you purchase buildings that are abandoned in the community, because instead of creating new buildings, you're repairing and revitalizing old ones to help the community.
It would have cost us over $45 million to build these buildings from scratch. We took over 400,000 square foot of building, only paid $4 million for it, and out of our pocket, without a building fund drive, capital stewardship program, federal funds, state, city funds, through the basic tithing offering of the church, was able to renovate these buildings, spent almost $11 million, and now they're worth over $50 million. And we took existing dilapidated buildings that were eyesores in the community, where the community had been run down, and we came in and built it back up. We always used to say the same way God takes broken down lives, puts them back together and build them up, we did it with physical facilities, and now these things become what we call sheep sheds, where we can train the sheep, we can empower the sheep to go out and be the sheep. And so that's what we've done here. Yeah, you're right. We took an old Southern Bell Phone Center building. We took an old automobile, Volkswagen repair shop and sales shop. We took an existing mall, and they were already here. So why recreate the wheel? We took the waste places and made them whole again. And God's blessed us.
And that brings
Come in and do what we needed to do. We're exempt in some areas because of the social services that we offer, and what's for profit has to pay taxes, what's not for profit doesn't have to pay taxes. But we're not even here to not pay taxes. I tell people all the time, I don't need a tax exempt status to do ministry. If they want to tax us, do what you got to do. I'm here to serve God, and God takes care. We're not the season what season when God was God. But yeah, we have been able to reduce crime significantly. It's been documented in the city, and that's what we did here, the multiplex and Lane Avenue, because those areas were notorious for crime and especially prostitution. And now, because of just the presence of the people of God, they're gone. And I got a couple of prostitutes in the choir.
So you also, for this building, it served as a business incubator, where initially small businesses didn't even have to pay rent to kind of help them entrepreneurs out.
Right. Actually, we had what's called the Potter Shop Multiplex, which is still there, but now it's completely our elementary and middle school. But in that building, we had over 27 spaces of initial business startups. We had members of our church and outside of our church who wanted to do business, but usually businesses closed within the first 3 years because of overhead expenses. So what we did is we bought the building, we owned the building, we carved out the spaces, we built out the spaces, and we worked with young entrepreneurs and people who were afraid of the overhead, removed overhead costs, didn't let them pay a dime, but just taught them good stewardship principles, that if they prosper and do well, they should give back. But nothing was mandatory for them to pay. And we allowed them to build their businesses. We allowed them to step out and to test the waters. And many of them moved on to larger facilities. Many of them incubated with us, and they're now successful and doing well today. We also had another facility on MacDuff called the McLaughlin Building, where we had 20 plus businesses in there. Businesses from the community and young startup businesses. The people who were established were able to pay, right? And that covered the cost for those who couldn't pay. But what we wanted to do was to help our people get going in business and do some things, and to realize that you can, because we're like the first generation of black people in particular that have a chance now to do something for the next generation. I wasn't handed anything. Nobody gave me anything. My father died and left me alone and alone. you know, so there wasn't much given to us. All right, so there are other privileged people that have had businesses passed down, money's passed down, inheritance passed down, and they've been able to continue the family business. We're in a position where we have to start the family businesses. And so now that's what we've done. This bistro will be around when I'm dead and gone. These bistros collectively, in sales alone, close to $6 million a year in sales. They started as a mom and pop shop right there in our building on Normandy Boulevard in the multiplex. But that's what we're talking about, because the mission was right, because our purpose was to empower people, and because we use it as an evangelistic tool and a ministry tool to employ the unemployable. God breathed on it. Oh, he blessed it. And so I've got offers all over the country to do franchising. We're not going to do it just yet, but eventually we may do that, and it will be used with the same mission. Like Chick-fil-A has a mission, everybody to establish a place to where the unemployable can be employed, especially black folk and underprivileged people can have jobs, can build a resume, a dossier to be able to go out and get better jobs. But we give them experience. Even in our Christian Academy, we teach them entrepreneur skills, and we teach them money matters. And we show them black-owned and operated businesses and people that can come in and they see owners. They just don't see people working. They see owners. And so they believe now that they too can own the business instead of working the business.
And I think that's important, and I love the fact that you said that y'all employ the unemployable here, because so many, especially our black men, can't get jobs once they've been in the system.
Been in the system. I can take you in the back now. 25% maybe of employees working here right now were formerly incarcerated, felony convictions, and nobody would touch them. When we love on them and help them and give them that job and bring them into our culture, not only do they get employment, but they also get spiritual food and nurturement and encouragement to where they can become good citizens.
And that's so important, because some people will say, well, the church just needs to preach the gospel. Well, we preach the gospel, but there's people that are coming in that need help economically. What would be your response to those who suggest that, well, this is not the church's lane?
That's I would say to them that they're a little antiquated and they haven't read the Bible. Meeting the total needs of the total man. Our philosophy is to take care of people socially, educationally, economically, and spiritually. It's the Luke 10 model, where Jesus said, you go into a city and you bless the city, right? You go in and you speak life over that city or community. You go in and basically say, this is where God sent me. That's what we did. Then the second thing he said you do is you eat whatever they put before you, and you listen to them. So you go in and eating is fellowshipping with them. You find out what the needs are. You find out where the pain is. You find out where the trouble is. And then thirdly, he says you heal all of those that are sick. You heal those amongst them. And then you declare to them that the kingdom of God has come to you. So think about that. Before we declare the gospel or the kingdom has come, or to say, we're here in Jesus' name, we came and we blessed them. We sat and we ate with them. We listened to them. We healed them. We fed them. We clothed them. We employed them. And then we preached the gospel to them. The problem is people want to just preach the gospel with no remedy, no help, no assistance, no nothing. And that's where the church gets that bad name. We're more concerned about how we say it and what we say versus what we do after the benediction. Your community needs the power of God, the presence of God, the resources of God that God gives to the church. We need to take that and sow it back into our community and help the helpless and to just build people in the community. And I think that's the church's responsibility. Remember Genesis 28. Be fruitful and multiply, replenish and subdue, take dominion. We split this mall up because of the Pharisees. If you step outside, you'll see that our church sanctuary, our church building is separate from the rest of the mall. It used to be one building. You know why we did that? The Pharisees. They've taken the Father's house and turned it into a den of thieves. And, you know, look at that. These are people who are in the South and who are ignorant, because if you go up north, churches are on top of bars, churches are next door to strip clubs, churches are storefronts, and it's just all business and corporate all the way down. I go to Brooklyn, Newark, New Jersey, I go to Boston, I go to Chicago regularly. We have churches there, and everything is marketplace. There is no distinction. The churches have to meet wherever they can meet, because there's no land like it is in the South or in Jacksonville. So I know there are a lot of people who think that the church shouldn't be involved in this, but those people aren't doing anything. They're not involved in the lives of the people. They're trying to clean the fish before they catch it. They just want to have bless me parties and come together and only talk about what they can do, and that's the rap we got. But when we get outside of these four walls and not have church and go to church, but be the church, then that's when people are going to begin to respect the church. And that's when some of these naysayers are going to begin to say, wait a minute, the whole church is not like that. Wait a minute, there are some people that are doing it right. Wait a minute, there are some people that are not afraid to step out and do what God wants. And that's what I'm trying.
And there are more people getting it right than they are getting it wrong.
And that's but they want to pick on the wrong.
And that's the unfortunate part, because sometimes people are so busy doing the work, they don't have time to or even make announcements about what they're doing. And so that's why those who are doing it wrong, they have all the time in the world. And
But if they were busy about the Father's business, they wouldn't have time to be in everybody else's business, talking about what they're not doing right. I tell our people all the time, that if you're just doing the work of ministry, just personally, if I was really doing what God has called me to do and what He has equipped me to do, I wouldn't have time to be worried about what Lisa's doing and not doing. But if we're on the same track, that's one reason I think Jude 3 is so important, because it's right in line with what I see the church doing and what we need in the body of Christ. We need to have some knowledge. Jesus doesn't want us to follow Him blindly. He wants us to use logic. He wants us to reason. He wants us to know. And so a lot of times people are listening to YouTube videos and video videos of information and facts that seem to contradict the Word of God. But what God is doing is raising up young theologians and raising up young good theologians, because we're all theologians, either good one or bad one. But He's raising up good theologians like yourself and others who are concerned about the integrity of the Bible, the historical integrity, the grammatical integrity of the Bible, so that we aren't misled, we aren't mistaught, that people can't eisegete the passage, or people can't use the Bible against the Bible to get people away from Jesus. So if we can manifest, I wrote an article for Charisma Magazine at the turn of the century, and front page article, I was on the cover, and it talked about the message for the 21st century is going to be manifestation, where churches are not going to talk about, they're not going to be prophetic in the sense of there's a blue house with a red dog, but no, what they spoke is going to come to pass. And so you're going to see businesses, you're going to see educational systems, you're going to see social involvement, you're going to see people developing and growing spiritually to where they are able to contend for the faith themselves. They won't be codependent upon a pastor or a leader, for Jesus trained His disciples for His absence. I go so that you can do greater works than I do. And that's what I'm trying to do, leave a generation like yourself and others with equipment, with things to work with, so that you can do greater works than we ever did in our lifetime.
And I think that's so important. How would you, for those who are listening, pastors and leaders who are watching, how would you tell them to go about this work? What strategic? Because some people are listening and say, well, I can't do all that. Me and my church is barely making it financially, trying to break even. But somebody can do something.
Yeah, I started with nothing. I remember when I first $200 offering. I remember when I used to look out of the window to see who was coming. And I was counting cars and those type of things. Oh God, they came back. So I can relate to people who don't have much. A lot of times those people who don't have much can't relate to people like myself who seem to have accomplished much. But I have a book that I'm going to be writing, and I'm probably presented as part of my dissertation, and it's called Mega Church Impact. But church is scratched out. So the book will read mega, church scratched out, impact, just mega impact. So you can impact your community. You can impact the people that you pastor and lead pastors without being mega. You don't have to have a bunch of money. You don't have to. My wife and I started our food and clothing ministry out of the trunk of our car. We would buy some groceries. We'd sit out in front of the church. People would come by. We would help them. Just now and today, I just left some people at our building, but there'll be hundreds of people every day. We give out tens of thousands of pounds of food every year, tons of food. But it started out of the back trunk of our car. It has to start somewhere. So what you do is you assess the needs of your community. We were doing free auto repair. We still do free home repair, free lawn services. We would assess the needs of our community and physically just go out and do what we could until we befriended the community, and now the community receives us, and now we receive the community in us, and then we grow, and then we build. But the key is you don't need mega numbers. You just need to have mega impact. Jesus took 12 and turned the world upside down, and one of them was the devil. So the deal is that you can start somewhere. You can do something. And we use Matthew 25 as our basis. When Jesus said, that's what you're going to be judged for in that day. When I was naked, you didn't clothe me. Hungry, you didn't feed me. Start there. In jail, you didn't visit me. Start there. Start doing something that gets you outside of the four walls, that brings the resources of the increased vision that will come when you start meeting the felt needs of people. That's all there is to it. Just be who you are. Don't compete with the next person down the street. Complete with the next person down the street. You might need to hook up with somebody that you can assist, like us. We don't mind other ministries and stuff coming in since we already have so many things in place. Join in with us in your outreach efforts. Allow your people to come and feed the hungry through the system that we have in place. Allow them to go to the jails and prisons with our ministry. And imagine if every church would just allow that type of synergy to take place, then we would be one body and covering the city and doing what we need to do with the gospel. So that's what we should take place. And if you're out there and you're listening and you want to help out, you want to be a part, you don't have the resources, then get with somebody like myself, our ministries. We have several pastors and leaders over those ministries that you might be able to come in and sow some seed of labor, of sweat equity, and then watch God do it for you. I promise you. We'll teach you how to do it, and then you go home and do it yourself.
And I think something that was important that you said, you work with the community to gain their trust. Because you have to have the trust of the community to be able to be effective in the community.
I think your reputation, if you read, I have an article called The Wizard of Oz. It's in Leadership Journal. And the magazine came in to do an article. They're also part of Christianity Today. And Eric Swanson, who's the editor, came in and he studied our church. And he talked about our impact in the community. And if you read the article, he concludes the article by saying, Bishop McLaughlin says in our conversation that a church ought to be so impacting in the community that if they left the community, the people would notice and the community would be impacted or affected by it. He said after visiting the Potter's house and spending time with them, if the Potter's house left the community, not only would they notice, but the community would weep. And so he was saying that you are so enamored and so connected to the community, rather, so involved in the community in us. We're sitting in the Potter's House Soul Police room now, right? The community is in this place. There are thousands of people that are going to come through here this mall today, right? It's a reflection of the community. Our clientele is about 65% white, 40% black, 5% other. And we're in this place and we're serving the community. That's a big number. That added up to 105. That's 65, 30, and 5. Yeah, you got it. And so that's a reflection of the community because that's what the community is. So we brought the community together. And the community now trusts us. Ask anybody about our reputation in this community. And they'll tell you, oh, those people feed, those people clothe, those people empower, those people help. It's a safe place. We have, our mall is used as a walking trail for people in the community who are afraid to walk outside. And there's just a lot of different things that go on here that wouldn't happen, of course, in the community if we weren't here. When the power goes out or something goes down, there's hundreds of people standing outside that's dysfunctional because they can't get in the building because the power's out or something, or the facility is not open. So yeah, if we left the community would weep. What happens if you were to leave your community? What happens if something were to happen and you could no longer do what you were doing anymore? People should feel your impact. They should feel the fact that you're no longer there. And actually, you should so befriend your community and meet its need that they should weep if you decide to leave. That's why you just can't go and start a church anywhere. Always people ask that, where you gonna start a church? Wherever I can find a building. Wrong answer. Because you need to have a burden for a community, and there's something that you have that community needs. You can't serve within the community and not serve the community. In a sense.
And I think that's so important what you brought up. What would be your how would you deal with kind of how we empower the community? because sometimes we want to, I like when you're employing people, not just giving them a fish, but just teaching them how to fish. And so many churches just start and stop with just giving away, but not empowering people economically. You provide courses. You had a credit union to just empower the community so they'll know how to fish. They'll know how to start a business. They'll have the tools to be independent.
We started our federal credit union, NCUA, FDIC Federal Credit Union, to teach people money management. We started it as a savings tradition so we can teach them about 401s, 403s, about retirement, and all those type of things. We teach it in our school education, and then our employees even taught money management. We do these seminars for them. We do these for our church. But we teach people how to manage their money, how to give to God, how to save, how to invest. It doesn't take a whole lot of money to do that. It's a mentality. So that when the money does come, if your ship does come in, you won't sink like many people who hit the lotto and are broke in 3 years. Athletes, I have athletes in our church who used to make millions of dollars, and now they work for us, and they're broke because they didn't know how to manage their funds. They didn't know how to take care of it. The church is responsible to teach people how to be good stewards. Jesus taught his disciples and us through the disciples and through the Gospels how to be good stewards, how to manage money, how to invest. He expects user interest. He wants us to increase. He wants us to get more. He gives talents. He gives abilities. Now, we have to have people that can point us in those directions. The problem in America is we're a pragmatic society. We want 5 keys, 6 ways, 7 easy steps to this and that. But what works is not necessarily what's right. But what's right will always eventually work. So what we decided to do was do what's right. You don't plant a seed and get a tree the next day. You don't do certain things and get results overnight. You have to till it and sow into it, water it. You have to fertilize it. You got to have some stuff to happen to it so that it can bring forth the fruit in its season. Our problem is we've mastered everything in the church except waiting. But when we start right and do it right and wait on the Lord, we don't get weak, we get stronger. And then when the harvest comes in, we have to know how to handle and steward the harvest. And that's what we've been able to do. So employing our people is not giving them a fish, it's giving them a job. It's helping them to be the fathers and the mothers that they need to be to provide, and then to manage it, and so on and so on and so on. So the credit union was meant for that. But let me tell you what happened to the credit union. We still hold the charter. We were the first church-owned and operated federal credit union in the state of Florida, and the bottom fell out during the recession in 2008. So now everybody's coming to the credit union to borrow money. $1,000, $500. There were times I would just give people $500 out of my pocket, out of my account, to keep them from borrowing money and paying back interest and usury on that. So when we saw that people were now desperate and just borrowing money, we shut the credit union because we didn't open it for them. But the time dictated that they borrowed. And then when they started borrowing and couldn't pay it back, guess what they would do? I ain't going back to church because they know we owe money. So that's what happens, and that's what happened to us. But our goal was to educate people and to teach them how to save and how to be good stewards.
And I think that's so important because in our communities, in the African American communities, that's crucial because people aren't trained on good money management.
Right.
So that's where the church has to step up and step in and say, okay, maybe if you go to a multi-ethnic church, you say, well, they're not teaching that. Well, their people don't need that.
Right.
You have to consider the culture, consider the needs of the people before you make critiques, because I've heard people critique, why are they talking about money? Well, people don't know how to manage their money.
That is a great point, Lisa, and I think every pastor needs to hear that because I'm often shied away from teaching on money because of the abuse that I've seen, and I'm a pastor, right? My offering sounds like this. Okay, guys, it's time to give. Come on, ushers, let's just receive the offering. No encouragement, no teaching on this and that. So I had to start changing that to say, wait a minute. Some of these people don't know nothing about giving, nothing about stewardship, nothing about managing their money. We need to involve that. So we have money management classes. Dave Ramsey We use his courses and stuff, and we have instructors and teachers who are certified who do that and teach those classes, and we do that apart from Sunday morning. So the reason I think I don't have to preach a mini sermon on giving every week is because when you come into our church, it's not welcome to the Father's house. It's welcome. Maybe you want to be a part of us. Here's what we believe about living for God. Here's what we believe about giving to God. Here's what we believe about worship. And so we teach you in the new members orientation and new converts who we are. Now that you know who we are, do you want to be a part? And I think when we teach stewardship in the inception of people coming into a church, it becomes a much a part of their life and activity in the church as just living for God, as not committing crimes and not going out here and killing people and stuff like that. We don't have to tell them every week not to do that. We shouldn't have to tell them every week, but we at least have to tell them, and we have to educate them. You made a good point about the other side of the track, or in a multi-ethnic type of community where people have had access to funds, have had some of this training, have had monies passed down and stuff. They know how to manage and they're better equipped. When our people come from our communities and where we are often, like me, I didn't have a dad. My mother worked 3 jobs. I didn't have any training. I brushed my teeth right, and my wife said, "You're splashing toothpaste all over the mirror like nobody ever taught you to brush your teeth." And I looked at her with a tear in my eye and I said, "Nobody did." I had no one there. I had to do it on my own. And I think a lot of us have had to do it on our own and we've done it wrong. But we need pastors, according to God's own heart, who will feed the people with knowledge and understanding. People that will equip folk, black folk in particular, our people, to be good stewards. And to not listen to some of the skills that people throw on the church about we're just about the money. Just how are we just about the money? I can just sit here right now and say, Lisa, we have employed hundreds, if not thousands of people over the 20 plus years that we've been in ministry. We've owned our own bank. We haven't looked for anybody for anything. We've never had a stewardship program or a building fund drive. You know, I can sit here and go through the basic tithe and offering, design on a dime. We've been able to remodel and renovate to where now we have over $50 million worth of properties and about to build on 33 new acres in the future for the generations to come, some things that will be needful for those generations. And we haven't had a handout or asked anybody to do anything. We pool our resources. We synergize. We work for the benefit of others. And you know why people give so liberally in our church? Even though I never had a philanthropic gift or never had a big donor, anything in our church, when people can see that you're feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, taking care of business, and concerned about your community, when they come to the worship experiences and sit in a 4,000-seat auditorium, a 1,000-seat church, they see all the stuff that's going on, and they know you're not begging, and they know that their money is being used properly and going back into the community and meeting the felt needs of people. People will liberally give as a result of that. There's some people out here that's killing the church about money and this and that, that if they came to our church, I believe they write the biggest check they ever wrote in their life. Why? Because they see that not all churches are what you're saying. And they need to stop doing that. I mean, as a prophet, as a man of God, you know, I can pronounce, I wouldn't pronounce a judgment particularly on individuals, but that's not a good thing to do when it comes to the house of God and the things of God. You don't want to find yourself fighting against God. And the Bible teaches that. So I think that those guys need to meet people like myself and others and sit down and have this kind of conversation in this type of facility, because this is first-class facility. This is done right, and it's productive, and it's doing what it was intended to do. And we have won more people to Christ even in these places, because without any federal funds, state funds, city funds, I can do whatever I want to do. I can put up a pulpit in the middle of the hallway out here and preach all day long if I wanted to. But our goal is, like Sir Francis Assisi said, make disciples and use words if necessary, or if you have to. I'd rather them see what God has done and them ask us, is this God? And then we have an opportunity to share. That's what I meant about the manifestation first in the 21st century.
Well, I'm going to leave you with the last words, Bishop. What would you like our audience to know?
You're going to leave with the last words. I've had every word up until this time. But that's pretty nice of you. That's pretty sweet as the host. And I think you do well as a host in feeding and trying to get out of your guests what they have to offer to people. So some people may say you talk a lot, or he needs to let Lisa talk. Lisa is here to say, to get answers to some of these questions, to share with her audience from people who are doing what they're doing and know what they know, so that you can get the information. And what I would say to you that are out there is that in order to really be the church, in order to really prove and to have some substance and to be able to contend for the faith and to be able to give an answer to these people who question the validity of the church, even in our giving and economics, that we need to manifest. That church, you need to be doing something that says, it's not about me, it's not about us, it's about others. Jesus was moved with compassion, and he came and he saw all of those who were sick and ailing, and he healed them. And if we're going to be like Christ, then we need to assess what's going on around us, have the same compassion, and do what we can to heal. The anointing is not to make you famous, it's not to get you rich. The anointing is that you might heal all those who are oppressed of the devil. And he comes and anoints us so that we can be used by him. And what we've done here in the city with the mall, with our school, our academy, with the other facilities that we're going to be building, the outreaches that we have, the #1 jails and prison ministry in the state of Florida, #1 in food and clothing in the city of Jacksonville. And what we've done is said, we're not here for ourselves, we're here for others. We're here to empower the people now and generations to come. We're going to be the first generation that I know that leaves an inheritance to our children's children, to where they'll have something to start with and to work with, and they won't be dependent upon anybody but God. And we'll be able to see God raise up young entrepreneurs, young politicians, young lawmakers, young and strong new presidents for the future, because we're concerned more than just about a Bible verse, but those Bible verses lead us to being productive citizens and lead us to being the kind of people that Jesus had in mind when he came and when he left and sent back the power of God. Love y'all. I just want you to know I love Lisa. I love the Jude 3 Project. Support it. Sow into it. Give something towards it. I know Lisa didn't ask me to say this. I don't care. But I still believe, as I've tried in our last event, I just felt led of God. Called Lisa and said, I want to sow something to help you out, to be a blessing. And I want you to be a blessing, all right? So think about that. Pray about it, because this is very important, and it's real. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Bishop. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. Thank you for watching another episode of the Jude 3 Project. Until next time, know what you believe and why you believe it.
Yes.
Mr. Brock Value Cross Academy Day 2. We're about to have a praise break. We're about to have a break in this class. Amen. My law.
My law.
In order. So you need to head your paper first, and then do what, class?
Do the I can't statement.
Then you do the I can't statement. That's part of the heading. After you head your paper, you should do what, class? In order. Yes, sir. 2 5.
Jesus!
Great day.
Great day!
Great day.
Great day!
Hey, gentlemen, guess what time it is? It's time for a praise break.
Uh-oh. My law.
Let me see what you got, guys. Let's go. Let's go. Hey, hey, hey. Come this way. Look at my guy.
Get it, James.
All right, gentlemen, I need you back in your seats. In 5. In 4. In 3. 2. 5.
Jesus!
Sorry about that. All right, Mr. Brock.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's read the fourth thing, which is the most important.
My law. Prayer was no